James was still enjoying himself, but there was no one around to share his fun. So he headed for Wellsworth Station. But as James pulled into Wellsworth Station, Gordon and the express were pulling out. The passengers had gone. "Bother," said James. He was disappointed, and he left the station. James headed straight for the branch lines. James saw Thomas. "Look at me," he puffed. "Don't I look fine?" "You should be at work," called Thomas. But James didn't listen to Thomas. James was enjoying being James. But Percy wasn't enjoying being Percy. He was trying his hardest, but the troublesome trucks were being very naughty. Poor Percy was almost worn out. "What will happen to the order now?" cried the yard manager. When James rolled into the coal plant, it was late in the afternoon. Percy was cross. So was the yard manager. "To make up for lost time," he said, "you must take an extra long line of coal cars to the docks." James was delighted. The docks were always bustling with engines and people. "It's the place to be seen," he said. "The troublesome trucks are being very naughty," warned Percy. But James still wasn't listening. James puffed along, looking forward to being seen. But the troublesome trucks were naughtier than ever. They rocked and rolled and crashed and bashed. James's face was soon covered in soot. Going downhill, the troublesome trucks wiggled and giggled. James had to put his brakes on with a jolt. Coal tumbled out of the troublesome trucks, landing on James. James was cross and biffed the troublesome trucks as hard as he could. More coal flew out. Now James didn't want to be seen. He was as dirty as he had ever been. But on his way to the docks, he kept passing his friends. He passed Emily. And Edward. And Thomas. Thomas thought the only red thing left on James was his face. James trundled into Brendam Docks. He hoped no one would see him. But Gordon was at the docks with the express. He could not believe his eyes. He thought James was the grubbiest, grimiest, dustiest, dirtiest engine he had ever seen. Percy arrived safely with the last of the coal cars. "I like your new coat of paint," he puffed cheekily. "You do look splendid." James knew he should have listened. He didn't feel splendid anymore. But for the first time all day, James could hear clearly. He could hear the sound of the troublesome trucks giggling at him. And despite feeling foolish, even James had to smile. Every engine on the island of Sodor looks different. Can you tell who this is? This engine is green. But there are lots of green engines on Sodor. What else can we see? This engine only has 2 wheels on each side. This is a small engine. Do you know who it is yet? Let's see if there's another clue. It's the number 6. Which engine on Sodor is number 6? That's right. It's Percy. Hello, Percy.
you want some sound advice, all those who know Emily know what shows especially. She's not that certain, you know what, there's no one quite like Emily. Sometimes she can't help herself and get misunderstood. Things can sometimes turn out wrong when all she meant was good. There's no one quite like Emily, friendly Emerald Emily. You don't need to ask her twice when you want some sound advice. All those who know Emily know what shows especially. She's not that certain, you know what, there's no one quite like Emily. Clever, cheerful, confident, she really knows her stuff. She's the one to get things done when others help and pound. There's no one quite like Emily, friendly Emerald Emily. You don't need to ask her twice when you want some sound advice. All those who know Emily know what shows especially. She's not that certain, you know what, there's no one quite like Emily.
It was May Day on the island of Sodor, and the engines were celebrating. They knew there'd be music and lots of fun. The station was being decorated. Sir Topham Hatt said that the engines could be decorated too. I'm going to have flags and streamers, whistled Percy. I'm going to have a big red banner, whistled Thomas. What decorations will you have, Gordon? Asked Murdoch. Decorations aren't dignified for an important engine like me. I pull the express. Gordon was feeling insulted. Silly little engines, he grunted. Thomas was enjoying himself. He was bringing the maypole. The farmer's children waved. Thomas peeped happily as he passed by. Soon it was time for the decorating. Percy's driver was wrapping streamers and flags around his funnel. Thomas had a big red banner on his tanks. Even Murdoch was being decorated, although he was very shy about it. We could have a contest for the best dressed engine, suggested James. Just then, Gordon shunted in. A contest? He puffed. I'm bound to win any contest. You will have to be decorated, said James. This is a best-dressed engine contest. Not me, puffed Gordon. You never catch me looking so ridiculous. The engines felt splendid. But not Gordon. He was cross. Decorations aren't dignified. Huh? Who cares about a contest anyway? Further down his line, a colorful banner was strung across the bridge. Then, as Gordon steamed across the bridge, it came loose and wrapped around his firebox. Gordon couldn't see the line ahead. Gordon tried to whoosh the banner off, but it wouldn't budge. I can't see! He whistled loudly to his driver. Stop! You can't stop, Gordon, his driver called back. You're the express. Trevor was chugging slowly along with his load of apples for the children's apple bob. Trevor heard a whistle. He was going as fast as he could, but it wasn't fast enough. The apples were all smashed. James was the last engine to join the contest, or so he thought. "Here comes Gordon!" cried the passengers. "We didn't think you wanted to be decorated," teased Thomas. "I didn't," huffed Gordon. "Well, you're definitely the best-dressed engine," said James. All the engines agreed. Gordon was secretly pleased, but he didn't think it was dignified to say so. Silly Gordon. Thomas is puffing to the painters. It is time for him to have a fresh coat of paint. Thomas wonders if he could be a different color. What color could Thomas be painted instead of blue? What if he were red like James? Then he would be the color of a Sodor postbox, or the same color as Bertie the bus. What if he were green, like Henry? Then he would be the color of grass, or the leaves on the trees. Thomas thinks red and green are lovely colors. He doesn't want to be blue anymore. Then he puffs past Trevor. Trevor is covered with lots of bright blue ribbons. He has been decorated for the fair. "Blue is quite a nice color," says Thomas, "for ribbons." Then Thomas arrives at the station. "Can you see anything here that is blue?" "There's a beautiful bunch of blue balloons." "Blue can be nice for balloons too," puffs Thomas. "I wonder if anything else is blue," says Thomas. "Can you see anything else that's blue?" "Of course. The sky is blue. If ribbons can be blue, and balloons can be blue, and the sky is blue, then blue is a jolly good color for engines after all," says Thomas. Thomas is very happy to be painted blue. It was a glorious summer day on the island of Sodor. Toby was collecting milk from the dairy. James was pulling passengers to Brendam docks. And Thomas was taking some workmen to work. They were building a new station. Every day, Thomas had to take the workmen there and bring them home again. "I can't wait for the grand opening," he told Annie and Clarabelle excitedly. "There's going to be flags and a big band." On the way to the new station, there was a difficult bend in the track. Thomas didn't like it at all. He was worried about the bend. But his good friends Annie and Clarabelle were there to help him. "Slow down," they sang out. "Slow down and puff with care." So Thomas did slow down, and he puffed with care. "Thank you," Thomas puffed to Annie and Clarabelle. "I couldn't have done it without you." Thomas arrived safely at the station. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting for him. "Today, Annie and Clarabelle are to go for their refit," he told Thomas. "You must take them to the workshop straight away." "But how will I take the workmen home?" asked Thomas. "You can use ordinary coaches instead," said Sir Topham Hatt. Yes, sir, said Thomas, and he puffed away to the workshop. Thomas said goodbye to Annie and Clarabelle. He was sad. I don't know how I'll manage the difficult bend without you, he told his friends. The next day, Thomas puffed to the coach yard. He was still thinking about the difficult bend. Thomas went too fast and gave the coaches a mighty biff. The coaches rolled along the line and bumped into James. "Watch what you're doing!" James snorted. "Sorry," Thomas puffed. Thomas was missing Annie and Clarabelle. He would never have biffed into them. Soon Thomas was on his way to pick up the workers at the new station. Difficult bend, he puffed nervously. The difficult bend came nearer and nearer. Thomas was supposed to slow down, but he wanted to get past the bend quickly. So Thomas went faster and faster. The coaches rattled and shook.